What is a project plan? Every project has a project dashboard, and it has various different things, everything from the status and everything. When you get down to the section, a project schedule is a project plan is essentially a schedule. So you're laying out all the tasks that need to take place on your project in sequential order. A lot of people do this and maybe a checklist, or they'll do it in Excel or something like that. Well, here there's a few options that'll help. Additionally, that stuff will roll up to this dashboard so that you'll get percent completed for your project, where you are in your project. You'll see a list of your tasks and the health of your tasks. You'll see what's due in the next 2 weeks and your key milestones. But while that all sounds complicated, it's really just a sequence of events. So let's go to the project plan. The icon at the top of the dashboard will take you there. The project plan looks complicated at first. Every project will come out with some generic things: milestone one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and 8. But when you get a project, you're going to customize it to the sequence of events for your project. So you can delete these and add to them, just to line up what tasks need to be done to finish your project, to get to your objective. So they don't need to be super complex, although having all your tasks listed can help plan out your project so that nothing gets missed and there are no surprises. Each of the tasks in your project will you have the option to indent them so that they become subtasks. So notice how, like, when I shrink this major thing down, um, these tasks underneath it get pulled in. Well, that's done because these tasks have been indented underneath it. So if I was to outdent it, that is now at the same level as major thing and it's no longer part of it. I can indent it and now it belongs to major thing. Now these automatically got indented along with the task they belong to. So I'm going to outdent those so that they're at the same level as that. So now all four of these tasks belong to major thing. You can indent several levels as much as you need. You can have a task under there if you want to indent this one to be under this guy here, or if it actually is a component of task two. Now you've got multiple levels that you could shrink it down, all belonging to major thing. So that's an option for indenting or outdenting to create your tasks in a useful category. From there, you have the option of having these listed as milestones. So milestones get listed on the dashboard as key milestones. Right now, by default, it just has all the major categories listed as milestones, and those show up in your dashboard, and the tasks underneath don't show up on your dashboard. If you wanted these to show up on your dashboard, you can set it to milestone, and now that one will show up on the dashboard also. But that's simply just a selection of this box here. If you don't want it there, hit the delete button, and that's gone. So you can either set it to milestone or not. Separately, you'll see these balls here, these green stoplight, green, yellow, and red. Essentially, these are triggered off this other stuff we're going to cover in just a second. Basically, a task starts off as green before the start date is reached. Once the start date is reached, it turns yellow, show that it's in progress. If the end date is within 14 days, weeks, it will also turn yellow. Let's say it's coming. And then once the project is complete, it will turn green again. If the project or if that task is overdue, as in the end date has passed, it will turn red. And so these get summed up on your dashboard too, so you can see overall how many reds you have, yellows are in the progress, or how many greens you have. The next column over here, we've got comments. This is an open field. Add details about your tasks. If you want to put a status of it, whatever you want. This is an open field. It's simply for people to use to add color to that if they want. the percent complete is the percentage complete of those tasks. So if one person decides that they've completed their task, you set it to 100%, it turns green, and it's now done. Notice that when I turned that one 100%, the major thing that that task belonged to increased in its percent complete. When you have 4 tasks below it, and as each one of those becomes complete, a percentage increases for those 4. Now, notice it didn't go up by 25% and then 50%. This is a weighted number, and it's weighted based on the level of effort. If you look over here on duration, this was 15 days, this was 5 days, 5 days, and 5 days. So when this one was not done, you had 5 days completed out of 15, 30 days, 30 days total. So 5 days out of 30 days is 17%. Once I did that, I had 20 days worth of work completed, which is 67% of 30. So that's why that percentage is weighted. Also notice this up here has been changing also. This is the overall project. All this stuff shrinks up under the project plan. So everything underneath it rolls up to this number here, just as these things rolled up to here. All this stuff rolls up in the overall project. And that 20% is what we saw on the dashboard as the percentage complete. Over here, you can assign people to each task. So if there's multiple people on the project, you can assign them to it. You can set up rules to notify them whenever the start date is reached or the end date of their task is reached. You can have them come in and update the percent complete so that your overall project has a percentage that is up to date. The start date is right here. You set the start date of your task, and for the most part, you can manually set those, or you can set them to be automatic based on a task that they're dependent on. But essentially, you choose the start date if you want. Right now, this is way out in 2020. You could set it back to November, but essentially, that's just the start date. And then, of course, the end date was calculated off of that based on the duration. So you have this starting on the 5th, 5 days later, that's the 11th. So that's where that comes in. That's the end date. And then you have your duration, which we just talked about. Now, if you wanted to put these in a certain order, you have another option, predecessors. What is it dependent on? So this guy is dependent on another task. It's dependent on task number 41. So if I look, 41 is up here. So it's dependent on this task 41. So it's verify project dashboard. And so if you were to look on a Gantt chart and we scroll out to it, you'll see here it has an arrow going back up to 41 that it's dependent on. Now, if we wanted to set up another dependency, say this task here was dependent on task 1, and we want to send its dependency, we look at row 45. We're going to set the dependency. Now, notice right now, those are concurrent. As soon as I change this, this is going to move to take place after that event in the schedule. So I'm going to type in 45. And when I hit enter, it's shifted out because it's now set as dependent on the previous task. It can't take place until after that one has taken place. So it pushed it out. But also notice that everything that was dependent on it has also shifted out. So you're able to set up the schedule and a sequence of events that need to take place to complete the project that way. So there are predecessors. Additionally, if you want to use these additional fields over here to complete your RACI for a particular task, you have your accountable. They could be notified anytime a row is changed or whatever rule you want to set up. Same with the consulted and informed. So those are the fields of a project plan. Essentially, that's it. It's basically just a list put in sequential order, use dependencies to help put those in a particular order. You can have multiple items. So this could be dependent on multiple tasks. until you have the project in the order that you need it. So this one was dependent on 2 tasks. It shifted out when this guy moved out, and it would shift further out if this one, say, became 10 days long. It shifted that task further out because it can't take place until it takes place. So that's useful. I find completing any project, you really need to know what you need to do and in what order. And so that I find this pretty useful to have a project plan. But anytime someone says, look at the project plan, they're usually referring to a project schedule, which officially this is just a project schedule, but it's a list of tasks to complete your project. All this, these balls will roll up. This percentage complete of 28% will roll up, and you will see them on your dashboard. I'm going to change the date of this item here, which is not dependent on anything, so we can see it on our thing. So today is the 11th, so it's now due in the next 2 weeks. Notice we got another thing, and I'm going to make another item late. So we got a late item, so we'll have something to look at. So this task will show up in our 2-week report because it's due within 2 weeks. This one will show up as late. So let's go look. I hit the save button here. I'm going to go up to the top where I've got links to all the project documents. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. On the dashboard, if we come back down here to the schedule section, we are listed at 35% complete. Now, if we remember from the schedule, we are 35% complete right here based on what we've put here. I changed the duration a minute ago, which is why that changed, but essentially we're at 35% complete for the entire project. Here we have our task health. Remember, I set the 1 to be late. There it is. I set 1 task to be due. Whoops. If you click on it, it takes us to that report. This is the task to do within 2 weeks. So we've got a list of all the tasks due within 2 weeks, and you got this report. We'll go back to the dashboard. So we've got our 2-week out report with our task number 2 that's due. And then we have our milestones. Anything that was listed as milestone is listed here. And if we clicked on it, it'll, of course, that list of milestones. You kind of get a little schedule of when those milestones will be due. So it gives you a good view of your schedule. And that is what a project plan is here at YPL.